Welcome back to What the Flag. So much has happened since we last spoke to you guys, but let's start off early doors, catching up with our people. You know, we've got Kenny and Yaz here. It's always going to be enjoyable. Kenny, you start with some tea that you would like to share
I've
with
got
the
a
crew.
tea. I've got a massive bone to pick. Massive bone to pick. The topic is flopping. Okay. For those who don't know, I'm sure there'll be some videos we can hopefully clip in here somewhere. Or in basketball, it's taking the charge. It's exaggerating fouls um for referees to call plays on. But there's just been incident, especially as an offensive coordinator, right? The premise is that the referees really try to protect that essence of flag being non-contact, right? So a lot of the times, if you get contact penalties, is normally on the defense because it's like pass interference and things like that, or it could be shielding type deal. But there's this particular, it's a small wave that's creeping in where a lot of defenders are basically putting themselves in positions to like force a foul because and there's one clip, there's one or two clips. I'm not naming any names. I'm not naming and shaming anyone from the Reading Devils or the Chichester Sharks or anything like that. But I'm just like, it's not, to be honest, it's not just them. You can see there's all some of the tournaments that we're talking about internationally where we watch the streams. It's just this thing where defenders literally deliberately put themselves in positions to be run over. And the reason I think it irks me the most is, especially as someone who played tackle and comes from that background initially, I'm like, if we were playing the game where, if we were playing the tackle version and I hit you like that, you're not going anywhere. So why do you end up on the floor now? Right. And also, if you're going for my flags, there's a way for you to go for my flags without putting yourself where you're going to contact me. But I don't know. As more and more from a coaching standpoint, I'm looking at it where there are some defenders that are like, they literally get into the splits position to pull a flag to make themselves as wide as possible, so that you got people, and it can be quite dangerous because you got like knee on knee contact and just unnecessary collisions where defenders could make more of an effort. Now, I say make more of an effort. Some people I know for a fact, I've had the conversation before, will argue like, oh, why would I not get the penalty given if you're not being careful you're running? But it's, I don't know. You'll see from, if you are watching this on any of the ones where you can actually see us, hello, hi, and there might be a clip where we can see, but it's a real bugbear. Like it's really annoying, and yeah, I don't know if there's any equivalent to it in tackle. Like people, I don't know.
Do you think that comes in because of the rule change from last year in IFAF, regarding the offensive player? Ultimately, they have to be in more
Yeah.
control of themselves and not be seen to be putting either in a I guess a helpless position.
And to clarify, it's not a rule change as such. It's the rule emphasis, right? So there's a real
Emphasis.
emphasis
Correct.
on being, but I'm like, that responsibility has got to be shared by both sides, right? And it's super. So the example I'll give is, if you're running a slant or a shoot, or a 5 and out, 5 and whatever, 5 and in, where you're facing towards the QB as you catch the ball, the natural instinct is to catch it and turn upfield, right? Again, there's a particular clip that we have where, as I'm running a shoot to one side, and as I catch the ball, there is literally, short of catching the ball, stopping to look and see where I'm going, there is no way a collision isn't initiated just because of momentum, right? So there's that piece of it, but I think the responsibility lies on both sides. Like, defenders have to have and I one time I've lost my temper on a flag football field, and it was our last Rebels game day. Yeah, because I was just like, someone's gonna get hurt, and I think that's when it then becomes an issue. We don't want to wait for someone to get hurt for it to become a real problem. But if people keep like jumping in the way to flop, do you know what's really bad? I think what really gets me is like, what I really want to shout in that moment is, be a man. right? But I know, right? That's really bad. So I'm just like, but it's not. I challenge it's for me. It lacks integrity in the athlete realm, because for me, if you're competing against someone, there's a kind of unspoken contract to say, hey, I'm gonna try my best, and I'm not gonna try and find ways of finagling penalties. Do you know? But maybe that's just me.
But
Maybe
surely, if you're already in that position, would it not just make more sense if you're already that close to the person that's catching the ball just to pull their flag? I don't understand why you'd want to initiate contact.
because if you pull their flag, whatever progress they've made up until that point, they keep. But if they get the penalty, you lose the down and they get pushed back, so there is benefit, but it's so soft. I really, and it's one of the things, what I think the other thing that bugs me, it's one of the things that I think will put a lot of NFL tackle fans off flag.
Yeah.
Because it's the same reason like Phoebe hates watching football, because she's like, why are they rolling on the floor? Like,
I'm glad you brought that up, because do you not think with the expansion of flag football, we're going to get more footballers, soccer
you
players.
mean soccer players? Okay, yeah.
Into flag football and other, other sports, but that is the culture within football. And I don't think she'll mind me saying this about her. Amy Wells is amazing, like footballer, amazing, soccer player, and a footballer through and through. So when she first started playing, only a few years ago, she would flop a bit. And so I was like, Ames, I can't handle you. I can't handle you doing this. Because I'm like, just push through it. But then ironically, last year she got a penalty thrown on her because of the rule emphasis of an offensive player not being able to, initiate contact in any way, essentially. But it is fascinating to see how, the sport is going to keep changing and changing and changing.
Yeah. I just really want us to protect that integrity, that being allowed to compete. Hey, like, I'm gonna try my hardest, but I'm not trying to run anyone over. I'm not trying to force, because it could be, if I was catching and lowering the shoulder as I turn the corner, that's potentially dangerous. But if I'm just going to try and play to the best of my ability, I don't. And I think they had a similar argument in the NBA a couple of years ago, where athletes were just like throwing themselves on the ground after taking shots and stuff. But I think it's just, with more people coming in, it may be a way of like, how do we protect what the integrity, that I hear, that kind of non-verbal, non-written agreement to, hey, like, we're gonna go at it, but I'm not trying to hurt you, you're not trying to hurt me, like, let's just play. Like, I don't know, just it's been bugging me. It's been bugging me.
I understand that. And Yaz, you've had your first trip out to Minnesota with the Divas. What was the coldest part of the country like?
It was so cold. So put it this way, we landed in Minnesota. We got off the plane. I was like, okay, it's not too cold. Then the wind blew. Next thing I know, I was in Under Armour buying all of the thermals that I could find. I don't even really wear Under Armour. I'm a Nike girl. Nike.
Represent.
Nike,
you guys can't see, if you're listening.
Nike.
I don't know about Nike, but yeah.
Nike or whatever. But yeah, it was really cold. They just had a tornado. We were delighted to know that apparently literally the day before it was really, really sunny. And it had been like 90 Fahrenheit there, and they'd been really, really
what's that in real numbers, please? What?
No idea, but apparently
it's high 30s.
It's hot.
High 30s.
Okay, high 30s. So it went from high 30s to
like 9 degrees.
Not Fahrenheit.
9 degrees and wet and raining.
9 degrees Celsius.
Celsius. Okay, I'm just making.
Not Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit would be snow and stuff. But it's May. It's May. Does it stay cold that long normally?
I mean, Phoebe would be better to shine.
Asking the resident
American.
I'm in Connecticut right now, and we have a fire going, and so I'm not a very fair judge. It's like 40 something degrees Fahrenheit, so it's similar, like 7 degrees Celsius right now.
Casual flex. I've got a fire going. Oh,
okay. Because we got no heat in the house.
We see you. Yeah.
We're burning stove, and we're like trying to keep warm. The dogs are laying.
You say you're burning stove? Is that a wood fire?
A wood wood burning stove. It's like the only reason there's
Oh.
heat in this house. Very old school. I have to give credit to my mom. She tried to find the oldest house in America, which is like not old. So I think this was built in like 1760. This is as old as it gets around here.
Oh, so
Wow.
no double glazing, no mod cons for you guys.
No double glazing. No, none of that.
Oh dear, man. Oh,
Yeah,
so
I
how did
think,
it?
and I was gonna say, yes, you know, even on the weather conversation, I was in Mexico watching Diana Flores' last game, and her last college game, right? So super cool for those that don't know. She got a scholarship to do her master's degree there. It was the first time they'd given flag football players a scholarship. So it was her last game. So it was like what we would consider senior night. And first half of the game, I'm sitting with her parents. It's beautiful, like just beautiful sunset. Halftime comes, pouring rain. All the whole crowd has to go hide under a tent. And we're standing there and hailstones are coming down.
No way.
Mexico City I was like, this was literally, I was sweating. I had sunglasses on before, and now hailstones are coming down. This weather
That's
situation is absolutely wild.
What is
that's
going on?
biblical proportions. That's end
Yeah,
times going
For
from hot
sure.
to hail to yeah.
how do you pack for
Mm.
that? How do you pack?
Right. And I was only there for like 2 days. So I was not prepared. Just like when you go on your trips, you were not prepared for, no. Luckily, there's always a sports store nearby, but I mean, Mexico City was pretty special. And Deanna, this is year 2 of her camp. So it's the Under Armour Next camp. It's really cool. You get the winner of the camp gets to go on and compete in the like All America camp that they do. But I mean, Mexico City is beautiful, but also wild for all my Brits listening to this or anyone that lives in Europe. I'm telling you, I would feel confident driving almost everywhere in the world. Mexico City is a place I will never be found driving a car. We got to a huge roundabout, like legit huge roundabout, what we would consider like a 3 or 4 lane roundabout. Tell me you could go either direction at the roundabout. I'm like, what is happening?
What?
I was like, wait,
Why?
how? They're like, yeah, left or right. I was like, no, that's not how this
Yeah,
operates.
you choose.
Literally,
It's up to
Is
you.
it?
what do you feel like today? Which is a shortcut. So that was like why.
Sorry, my coaching head is struggling. What, as in, do you go where your closest exit is, or it's just like,
Yeah,
hey, it looks better over that side. I'm going.
there was zero direction. People are just like, yep, I'm going left now. I'm going right now. I'm going wherever I want to go.
So it was just a junction with a circle in it.
Basically, that is exactly what it was. It was insane. So I will never drive there, but it was so cool to go see like Mexico City. And, Dean and I had a great day just kind of like exploring downtown. I'd never really done that before, had so much amazing food. And then the camp day was just fantastic. It was really cool. Coach Clementine, who's plays for the French national team, she was out in Mexico. Lucy Vino was out there, but she was feeling poorly on the day.
No.
Then, just amazing to see all these coaches kind of coming together from around the world, what Deanna's built. And we had 150 girls out there playing flag football. And you've got like, legends who work there. Pepper Johnson, 5-time Super Bowl winner, Torrey Smith, receiver, played for the Ravens, just like
Ravens, let's go.
fantastic guys who really wanted to just develop and grow the game. And, the girls, the way that they love Deanna is just like their look in their eyes when she throws them a ball or she talks to them when they're asking her advice. It's just so cool. And so I guess kind of
What
on
was
the
the
topic, what's that?
what was the talent like? What was the talent like?
Honestly, it's so interesting because a lot of conversation came up around what's the difference between, some of the athletes in Mexico compared to some of the athletes around the world. And I'd say from my point of view, you can probably break it into 3 categories. You've got like kind of Mexico, Panama, a little bit. You've got like USA, Canada, and then I'd kind of say you've got Europe. I don't have enough data on, the further east you go, in terms of Malaysia or any of those countries. So I would say Mexico is definitely very like fast twitch athletes. Their ability to change direction, that like quickness with their hips. I mean, just like athletes, You know, a lot of them are shorter as well. So like this great low center of gravity, that kind of burst and the evasive nature of what their game is like. Whereas I look at American, Canadian athletes, for example, they're just athletes, right? But you've got a lot of perhaps basketball backgrounds, volleyball backgrounds, so that ability to jump and attack the football,
Power.
which I'm sure you're seeing playing, you know, in the league in the States, is just the different athleticism that, you know, receivers, tight ends, DBs, whoever, they just get after the ball. Like there's this absolute hunger for it. Now, I don't know if if they're all as naturally evasive because of some of that, and they're a lot more physical when they play flag.
They haven't got it like that. Like the Mexicans, the twitchy and
No,
the
that's
quick
what I'm
movement.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Americans, like, they're probably a lot more physical in terms of their gameplay.
Mhm.
And then Europeans, I still think we're trying to figure out what our identity is. I think we follow the rules so well that we play to the rules.
Yeah.
And I think we're trying to be, I think we have to use a lot more scheme in our games because we've got to find ways around the experience of some of these other countries. But we're seeing a lot of different countries right now who are becoming so successful. I know we're going to talk about France in a little bit. You know, Serbia won the women's at King Bowl. Uh, French men, you know,
Slovenia. Let's not. I don't want
Slovenia,
to get. I
sorry.
don't want to
I'm
get.
so sorry. Slovenia,
I don't
Somalia's
want to
Tigres. I know,
get.
sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
S was in my head. I'm sorry, Slovenia. We love you. Tigers,
Yeah.
you were great.
I'm
Um,
upset still. I'm upset still, but they get their
yeah,
pass.
yeah,
Well
yeah.
done.
You
Congratulations.
know,
Good job.
the French men's team doing so
Mm,
successfully,
mm.
King Bowl, you know, Molasses winning for men's in King Bowl, and then of course having Copenhagen Bowl. You know, all these other countries are still, I think, figuring out what their identity is.
Yeah. No, I agree because you mentioned all of them, and yeah, I think like looking at Copenhagen Bowl that was just this past weekend, kind of again one of the biggest longest run tournaments in out here in Europe. It's a great opportunity for people to kind of you test themselves, and we have a lot of these national program teams now that are using these tournaments as not just practice necessarily, but also a means of stress testing their players and whittling down their teams. It was really interesting to see because the Turkish national team won Copenhagen Bowl and
Women's,
say again, sorry,
women's.
women's, yeah. And from what I heard, they were really well organized. To your point about relying on scheme and relying on just really understanding the rules in the game, really well organized. Really, they looked the part. They did things very properly, like things like everyone being in the same uniform, and arriving as a team and looking the part.
So that makes a
Are
really good difference.
It really does. It really does. Whether subconsciously, whether putting pressure on the teams you're about to face. But I think the just the fact that we get to see these sneak previews of some of the teams that we might be seeing at the World Games or at the European Championships later this year is super interesting. Did you guys see the longest play at the weekend?
Yes. Yes.
If you haven't seen it, go to Copenhagen Bowl, find them on social media. There's one play that was, and again, this is no favorites here, but it was one of the French teams against one of the GB teams. So both countries sent two teams to it, and they just, I do think it's the longest longest flag play I've ever seen. Certainly, like it's just these two playing cat and mouse, and then there's two. Yeah. I won't explain it, but what a game! What a game! That was really fun to see. Really good to see.
And they're also doing a lot more, like, shout out to Clace and what he's been doing from an officiating standpoint. Him and Jed hosting a officiating clinic, I think on the Friday night beforehand. You know, there's a lot of kind of overall growth and education that's trying to be put together because that's the biggest thing. And like, I don't know if you know this, yeah, but basically when you go to all these international like competitions, not from a like national program, but in these international competitions. So next up we'll have Big Bowl out in Germany. But as players, you're assigned to officiate different games. And a lot of the players, they know how to play the game. They don't necessarily know how to officiate the game. So
No one knows the rules. No one knows the rules.
I don't know if it's always no one knows the rules. I think
No.
sometimes they don't know how to identify if something has happened. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
if we said, okay, yes, yeah, you've played tackle football for years, you know everything about the line. Hey, can you just officiate this game right fast? Like, you
It's so
probably.
subjective in so many ways. What
Mhm.
what someone might consider a hold-in, I might not consider a hold-in. What people consider the end
Said
is like the
said
end of
said the O-line player. Oh dear man.
yeah. I never get done for holding. I've never had a holding penalty. No, not me.
I love that.
Absolute
That's the
legend.
fact that I love that you said penalty you went for. But the fact that I think people don't realize that there's actual mechanics to officiating. There's places where you're meant to look, then there's places where you're meant to move to, then there's places, and
You've
it's
got to get the
like
stance right. If you haven't got the stance right, it's all
what's
wrong.
we should
Hands
that
on
should
knees, as
that's
bent as you can, left forward.
that's the next viral thing. Like everyone just post your own and it's getting in a ref stance as best you can. The zebra, we call it the zebra stance.
Yeah.
Oh dear man, that's perfect.
Well, as we're talking about teams, I think it's hard to ignore some of the biggest news that's come out this week.
Yes.
And that is the fact that NFL players are going to be eligible to trial for the 2028 Olympics. This is a topic that is really being spoken about by everyone. I mean, there are definitely some caveats and some restrictions within this in terms of when they can trial, how they can trial. You're only allowed to have one player from each NFL team on an international squad to try and help reserve. Yes, Kenny Bello.
So to be clear, and I think, and again, I think people have misunderstood that particular rule. The rule says you can have, as I read it, you can have one player per NFL roster on the
Mhm.
national team.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean just one NFL player per national program. It
I thought it meant
means,
one team, so like you could have one from the Ravens, one from the
Yeah.
thank
Chiefs,
you.
one
Oh,
from
people,
the
I'm
Correct.
fairly sure people have not understood that. So I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, it's only Amon-Ra St. Brown can play for Germany, but his brother can't, even though they're on different teams. And it's like, no, both of them will be eligible, which will be,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have misunderstood. But my social media has been blowing up. People are losing their minds
their minds.
about this thing, and is it that deep? Question mark.
I think, do you know what it is? I think it's a case of it would be incredible to see like a flag super team that had been made up of NFL players. I have no doubt. But the
Why?
problem,
Why? Sorry, yes.
because
Why?
because it would just be a really amazing opportunity to see these people compete together. But I think the problem is that it lies in is that you've had a national team that have built up such an amazing reputation up until this point, and then for you to be for you to turn around and be like, all right, NFL players, come in, do your thing, and then you're potentially now, well, do these players then dethrone the current flag team? Because I think the current flag team are winners anyway, right? They're
Yeah.
champions
We
as
They're
it is, so
dominant.
they're obviously doing pretty well.
Yeah, we've discussed this on a previous podcast, but I
Yeah,
stand by it. It's exactly the same thing they do with basketball. The
yeah.
guys that play in the world championships and stuff, I don't even know if they play in the NBA or not, to be very honest. But they're not the same guys when it comes to the Olympics. And if it is decided financially, commercially, again, it's a whole other podcast, this, but commercially, the NFL will want all of the players on that team to be NFL players because it just increases their reach globally. But I still don't know if NFL players can play flag. It's a different sport. It's a different sport.
Well, what about the idea of an A team and a B team? What is it possible for a country to have two teams? So you could have like
In
the
the
current,
Olympics,
yeah, like.
which Olympics are you watching? What do you
Well,
mean?
I'm just saying, could that be a thing? Like, you know how in a relay team, well, it's not an A team and a B team, but for a relay team, you can take, I think, 6 or 7,
I see what you mean.
and
And
you
then
can all
different.
get medals.
No,
So
it'll
they
be a squad
allow
of
the
12.
slightly, are now all countries eligible to have like a slightly bigger roster. Like, rather than having your usual 10, can you take 12 maybe? Do you know what I mean? So then you
Mm.
have the opportunity for all of them to rotate in and play. I guess, I don't know, man. It'd
And
be
Baby
that's
drama.
amazing for other countries, like, you know, for someone like Amon-Ra St. Brown to go and play for Germany, like that would be incredible to add to their roster. It's just obviously most of them come from America, so you all of a sudden you're like, you know, you're lining up, you're like, Oh, Justin Jefferson's in front of me. No.
No, nay, straps the same way. No, I'm not even a defensive player. I'm a coach.
Right, good, right.
But it is a great point because you are only going to have 10 players on a roster for the
Mm.
Olympics, and you only will have 6 countries, 6 men's teams, 6 women's teams.
That's wild.
I think it's going to be fascinating because the other conversation is around who's coaching them. Because I think the coach is going to be a really crucial part. You need to have somebody who's going to be confident enough, not a fan, for lack of a better word, of these players to be able to, you have to be confident to teach a Justin Jefferson how to play.
I said this because I had a conversation earlier this week where I said it's bad enough now. People's minds are going to get blown when it's NFL coaches coaching that flag team because of the level that they're at. Like, because you can't have, yes, Pete, you might have some assistant coaches who are flag mind, similar to the process that's done in the Pro Bowl right now, where it's NFL players playing flag, so they've brought in some guest coaches. But which, that might be a question for another time. Which NFL coach is the best flag coach? Question mark.
Andy Reid told me that he wanted to do it, so I was like, Andy, whatever you want. I have it recording, so we're gonna get it. We're gonna get you out there, Coach Andy.
USA football.
Anyways.
USA football. Andy Reid's your guy. That's it.
Yeah,
done. We got him a job.
Wait, why can't we use him in another country? He doesn't have to coach for the US. But on that point, each one of us, so Kenny, Yaz, producer Blessing, producer Alex, and editor and producer Matt, we are all putting together our list. We're going to give you 6 players each. Everyone at home, please vote to tell us who you think has the best roster for Team USA men's to go to the Olympics. I'm going to say I'm right. I'm the winner. Let's just put it out there.
So can I just a caveat? It doesn't.
Nope,
Can we not landlock it? Just pick your best 6, because you have to work out like who's actually USA and who's not. And then if people have been there and put someone who's not actually
what the
American
team people are worried about is Team USA at the end of the day. So make sure you vote, all of you at home, like, subscribe, ring the bell, like your girl Yaz, but in an American accent says. And we'll see you next time on What the Flag.